another issue. So just respond to my oversight request. Finally, I want to talk about the budget as it relates to what the Biden administration is proposing to spend, I guess, to fix Central America. My first trip down to Central America, it was interesting what the presidents of those countries talked about in terms of problems they were dealing with. And first it was corruption and then impunity. Obviously, I understand corruption. I thought impunity, that's odd. I mean, what are you talking about there? And the fact of the matter is, they're talking about the fact that the drug cartels are untouchable. And by the way, the drug cartels in Central America, because through our drug interdiction efforts, we stopped, or we certainly redirect the flow through the Caribbean and up to Central America, destroying those societies in many respects. So I don't know what amount of money we can spend in Central America to really address the drug lords. I keep hearing the root cause of this problem is the violence in Central America. I would argue the root cause of the violence in Central America is America's insatiable demand for drugs. So the border crisis, which is the current crisis, is completely the result of the actions that President Biden took when he first entered office, ending the successful migrant protection policy, the agreements with those countries, and quite honestly, not completing the 250 miles of border wall that is bought and paid for. So I listened to Vice President Harris talking about, oh, yeah, we're going to secure the border. I see no evidence of that. So tell me how you can expect a few $100 million or I don't exactly know the exact amount you're really proposing over the next couple of years during this administration of pouring into Central America to try and fix the push factor, when the push factor is caused by our insatiable demand for drugs and the flow of migrants. And by the way, the presidents of those countries were pleading with me and on a bipartisan basis to other Senate colleagues, please fix your laws. This isn't good for us to lose our future, to have this outflow of people. We need to rebuild our economies. So please explain how these policies are going to result in anything and how that money isn't going to just be completely wasted in Central America.
Thank you. There are a number of things that we need to do and do it at the same time. We have to have, and we're determined to have, and we will have a secure border. We have to have a rational immigration policies, and we have to deal with these drivers. And I think it's fair to say that folks don't just wake up in the morning in Guatemala or Honduras or El Salvador and say, boy, it would be a lot of fun to just give up everything I know, my family, my language, my culture, my community, take this incredibly hazardous journey, put myself in the hands of coyotes, come to the United States, and the border's closed in any event, and that would be a great thing to do. We know that there are very, very serious things in their lives that are pushing them to take these chances. And these are things that I think we can help address. To your point, you're right. I think there are a number of factors involved. The corruption, lack of good governance, the impunity in terms of violence. The single biggest driver in most places, in my estimation, though, is fundamentally a lack of opportunity, a lack of a job, a lack of a paycheck, being able to put money on the table, feed their families. And this is a place where I think we can have a real impact, working primarily with the private sector, which has to be the engine for these kinds of investments. The government can help and be a catalyst. We need to see that. Of course, governments need to do the work to put in place some of the laws and structures that make private investment more possible. So we're working on that as well. But if, Senators, we don't also deal with these drivers, it's just very hard to overcome the choice that people make to, put their lives in someone else's hands to try to come here. We have to be able to do all of that, and that's where the President's plan go. I'd be happy when, the time comes. This is not just throwing money at the problem. There are and will be serious metrics, serious oversight, serious benchmarks for what we're trying to accomplish. And last thing I'd mention on this, if I can, part of the challenge is that you have governments that we can't work effectively with because of corruption and because of gross mismanagement. Well, we'll be working with others, with the private sector, with civil society, with NGOs, with organizations that do this work, with local communities, as the case may be, to try to make sure that any funds that we ask our taxpayers to dedicate to this are used wisely and effectively and are not wasted. And I really welcome an opportunity to work with this committee on that.
Thank you.